Hello, welcome to class. My name is Benin and I'm a British English teacher. Today I'd like to talk to you a little bit about ED endings in English. ED endings, as I'm sure you know, are very common in English because we use them for regular past tense verbs, so things like hoped, walked, wanted, needed, etc. And we also use them for adjectives, things like I'm feeling bored, I'm feeling excited, I'm feeling interested, etc. So what exactly is the problem then with these ED endings? Well, the problem tends to be for people the pronunciation. So students at all levels, beginner, intermediate, advanced, sometimes make mistakes with the pronunciation of these words. For example, recently with a couple of advanced students, these words came up in class and my students asked me, how do I pronounce this? What's going on? Is it skewed or skewed? Is it induced or induced? Is it slated or slate? Is it derided or derided? So the question here the students are really asking is, when do we pronounce ED endings as a separate syllable, like an id? For example, wanted, it's this separate syllable, this separate beat of the word, if we like. And when do we pronounce it as part of the same syllable as the rest of the verb, as in talked? Right, it's part of the same beat, talked, one beat, talked versus wanted. It's a very good question, and this is what I would like to help you with today. There is actually a really simple rule that can help you know whether to pronounce the ED ending as part of the same syllable as the rest of the verb, as a kind of t or d sound, like in walked, etc. And when we do pronounce it as that extra syllable, like in wanted. The rule is, if the verb ends in a T or a D, the main verb, we do pronounce that extra syllable as an id sound, not as an ed sound. Ed endings never sound like ed. It's always id if it is this extra syllable. So let's have a look with these words with T, for example. Wanted. We can hear too, wanted. Started. Selected. Right, this is very clear id sound. And with D, needed, decided, ended. Again, it's very, very clear that this is an extra syllable with id. For all other situations, so verbs ending in all other sounds, we actually just pronounce a kind of d or t sound as part of the same syllable as the end of the verb. For example, tried, talked, hoped, hugged, washed. So it would never ever be things like washed, hugged, hoped. This never happens in English, right? There are some extra rules about when it sounds a bit more like a T, a T at the end of a word, and when it sounds a little bit more like a D, a D. But this isn't really important for people understanding you. People will understand you perfectly, whichever sound you choose. So I won't go into that right now. So basically, if we've got this T or D, we have the extra syllable. With this in mind, how on earth would we pronounce these unusual ED endings then? Have a look, pause the video, give it a try, and then listen to me actually pronounce these words. So it would in fact be skewed, part of the same syllable, because there's no T or D. It would in fact be induced, again, part of the same syllable, but it would be slated because we've got that T. So it's the id on the end. And it would be derided because, again, we've got that D. Right? So hopefully this should help you meet crazy new words with ED endings and pronounce them a lot more accurately. To have some practice, I'm going to put a short paragraph here What I'd like you to do is again pause the video, read through it, try and see where we would have this extra syllable id, if there's a T or a D, and try to pronounce it yourself. Once you've finished, you can listen to me actually read the paragraph. So press pause now. Okay, I'm now going to read this paragraph for you. So let's go. I feel knackered. It was a hard day today. We had a meeting that lasted hours where we hammered out the details for a new project at work. I had drafted a plan and proposed some ideas, but my colleagues knocked my ideas down and explained I was too ambitious. I tried to convince them, but they insisted. In the end, we decided to meet again tomorrow. I'm trying not to feel too dissuaded, but I'm exhausted just thinking about it. Okay, so you can listen to this as many times as you need to try and get that sense of when I'm pronouncing the extra syllable id and when it's all part of the same syllable. I hope that these tips and exercises were helpful for you today. As always, let me know how you're getting on with this pronunciation, and thanks for watching. See you very soon. Bye for now.